You almost decide. You get close. You imagine the future. You even feel a small sense of clarity. And then, something pulls you back. Not fear exactly, not confusion either, just a quiet hesitation. Like committing would mean losing something you can't name. So you wait. You think more. You explore other options. But somehow, you never fully choose. And the question stays in the background. Why does choosing one path feel like giving something up? 2. Problem deep dive. It doesn't look like indecision from the outside. It looks like exploration. You research, you compare, you imagine different futures. One path feels exciting. Another feels safe. A third feels meaningful. And for a moment, each one feels like it could be you. But the moment you try to commit, something changes. You start thinking about what you'll miss, the other lives you won't live, the versions of yourself that will never exist. So instead of choosing, you pause. You tell yourself you need more clarity, more certainty, more time. But time doesn't solve it, because the more you think, the more possibilities you see. And the more possibilities you see, the harder it becomes to choose. So you stay in between. Not stuck, but not moving either. And slowly, that in-between space starts to feel exhausting, because you're holding multiple lives in your head, but living none of them fully. So why does your brain resist commitment even when you want clarity? 3. Reframe. You're not bad at making decisions. You're protecting your sense of possibility. Because every path you don't choose stays alive in your mind. It remains potential, flexible, undefined, still yours. But the moment you choose, those other paths collapse. Not because they weren't real, but because they're no longer accessible. And your brain notices that loss. Even if the path you choose is good, it still feels like you're giving something up. So your hesitation isn't weakness, it's an adaptation, a way your mind tries to preserve as many versions of you as possible. But that raises a deeper question. Why does losing possible selves feel like such a real loss? 4. Psychological mechanism. Your brain doesn't just track reality, it tracks possibility. There's a concept in psychology called possible selves. These are the different versions of you that could exist in the future. Your brain simulates them constantly. Who you could become, what your life could look like. And here's the key. These simulations aren't neutral. They carry emotion, hope, excitement, meaning. So when you imagine a future path, your brain partially experiences it. It feels real. Now combine that with loss aversion, a bias where losing something feels more intense than gaining something, even if what you're losing is just a possibility. So when you commit to one path, your brain doesn't just register a gain, it registers multiple losses. Loss of other identities, other futures, other versions of you. And that creates resistance. Here's the mental model. Imagine your identity as a tree of branches. Each branch is a possible life. When you choose one path, you don't just grow that branch, you cut off others. Even if they were never going to happen, your brain still feels their absence. So instead of choosing, you keep the tree intact, all branches alive. But here's the hidden cost. A tree that never commits to one branch never grows deeply in any direction. So how do you move forward without feeling like you're losing parts of yourself? 5. Practical framework. You don't need more certainty. You need a new relationship with possibility. 1. Accept that every decision includes loss. Right now, you're trying to choose without giving anything up. What to do? Acknowledge the loss directly. Name what you're not choosing. Why it works? This reduces unconscious resistance by making the loss explicit and processed. Real-life example? If you choose a career path, you say, I'm letting go of these other versions of me, and you allow that feeling. 2. Shift from identity-based decisions to value-based ones. You're asking, which version of me should I become? What to do? Ask instead, what matters to me right now? Why it works? Values are stable. Identities are flexible. This reduces pressure to pick the perfect self. Real-life example? Instead of choosing between identities, you choose based on what feels meaningful today. 3. Limit the number of active options. Too many possibilities keep your brain in simulation mode. What to do? Reduce your options to 2 or 3. Intentionally ignore the rest. Why it works? This lowers cognitive load and reduces emotional attachment to unused paths. Real-life example? You stop exploring endlessly and focus only on a few real choices. 4. Treat decisions as experiments, not definitions. You see decisions as permanent. That's why they feel heavy. What to do? Frame choices as temporary directions, not fixed identities. Why it works? This reduces perceived loss because the brain sees flexibility. Real-life example? You commit to a path for 6 months, not forever. 5. Build identity through action, not imagination. Right now, your identity lives in your head. What to do? Take small actions in one direction and let experience shape identity. Why it works? Action engages reward systems and reduces over-reliance on mental simulation. Real-life example? Instead of imagining a career, you try real tasks within it. 6. Integration. At its core, this isn't about indecision, it's about attachment to possibility. Your brain wants to keep every version of you alive because each one carries meaning, emotion, hope, identity. But real life doesn't work like that. You don't become someone by imagining every version. You become someone by choosing and moving. Not perfectly, not permanently, just enough to begin. So the goal isn't to eliminate other paths, it's to accept that they can exist without needing to live them all. 7. Quiet, empowering close. You don't need to find the perfect path. There isn't one. There are only paths you choose to walk long enough for them to become yours. And yes, every choice will close something, but it will also open something you can't experience any other way. So the next time you hesitate, notice what you're trying to keep, not just what you're afraid to lose. Because maybe the real question isn't, what if I choose wrong, but what if I never choose at all? And slowly, that answer becomes clearer than any path you've been avoiding.